cuties! Hi girls! Today we are at lesson 4 talking about staying calm around food. So you've just learned to eat 3 regular meals and 2 to 3 snacks each day so you're not feeling famished each day. So now we want to get you to a point where you're feeling really calm about food and having a really neutral mindset no matter where you are. So whether or not you're going to a party or you're going to a dinner or you're just at home or maybe just something unexpected has come up, basically all the situations where food causes us the most anxiety, we want to teach you how to have a really calm mindset around it so that you can feel safe going places, safe knowing that most of your things can be planned, but there will be unexpected things that come up.
Totally.
So we're going to take you through 3 steps. Our 3 steps today are taking food off a pedestal, learning to trust and listen to your body, and the 3rd step is bringing yourself to a neutral mindset and recognizing the things that bring you stress. Step number 1 is taking food off a pedestal. So food is here to nourish your body, and it is there for you to use as a tool to have energy and to feel good and to feed yourself through the day. It's not there to be something that scares you. I think that when we have a dieting mentality, all the time food does become something that scares us or we feel like it has power over us. An example might be if you're on a calorie tracking diet. You can only have 1,200 calories. Maybe you've eaten 900 of those calories for the day and you only have 300 left for dinner. Food automatically becomes this object that is very scary to you and feels like no matter what you do, you're going to mess up and it's going to hurt your body. So we really want to get food away from that place. We want you to be able to know that you can listen to your body. You can find that voice that you have inside you, very quiet voice that tells you that you're full, that tells you you've had enough, or that maybe tells you a food is not working for you. And we want you to be in a place where you can learn to listen to that voice and know that it's not going to steer you wrong. So another part of this taking food off a pedestal has to do with social media, or being in groups of people where we really glamorize food. So maybe that's taking a picture of a cupcake or a donut and posting it online and saying you have no control over it. That sends a really negative message basically about food, even if it seems like no big deal. People are seeing that and thinking like, oh, I feel the same way, or I have no control over the donut or the cupcake or anything like that. And you really do if you can slow down enough to pay attention to how you're feeling, or maybe even how that food is tasting. Maybe you think donuts are the best thing ever, but then you try this amazing pastry that, from this wonderful place that's really high quality, and all of a sudden donuts aren't so great anymore.
Totally. Yeah, and I think kind of touching on that, there's two things that really can help you take food off a pedestal. The first we talked about before, giving yourself permission to eat everything, right? That goes back to lesson number 2, where you really have to tell yourself nothing is off limits. When food is no longer considered bad, or it's something that you're not allowed to have, it loses its power, we talked about. And so it takes it off of that pedestal. If a cupcake is just a cupcake, then it really doesn't have any power. Sure, it tastes good, sure, it's lovely, but it's not something that you can't control yourself around, and it's certainly not something that doesn't exist every single day. You can have it any time that you want. So if you need to go back and revisit lesson number 2, I think it would be a great idea to do that. If you find yourself putting food on pedestals, there's likely some talk about in your mind about not having permission to eat that food. So I would just revisit that internal dialogue. And then the other thing that can be so powerful is having pleasure in your life that isn't about food. We are the first people to tell you that you shouldn't eat anything that you don't enjoy. So every bite of food that you eat, it should taste good to you. Food is a pleasurable experience. Sure, it has a purpose, nourishing your body, but you might as well enjoy it if you're gonna do it anyway. So we want you to have pleasure in food, but it shouldn't be your only pleasure and it shouldn't be your greatest pleasure. So you wanna look at the other areas of your life and really like cultivate enjoyment and fun in those other areas. So, you know, work on your relationships, like do fun things with friends, connect with people who really get you, seek out a job or a career that makes you feel really passionate. Stop saying yes to things that you totally hate and start saying yes to things that you really enjoy. And we'll talk more about joy in like specific areas later on in the program, like exercise, but really start to look at your life and say like, crap, like is food the only thing that I'm getting pleasure from? Because there's been times in both of our lives where I think we can relate to that feeling.
Yeah, really focus on food.
Yeah, totally. So it's not only about taking food off the pedestal, it's not only about minimizing food, but it's also about bringing up the other areas in your life so that you have a pretty even playing field and you're getting pleasure from a lot of different places, from your plate, but also from the other areas in your life. And we refer to those other areas as primary foods, or sometimes I call them soul foods. So that's, if you hear us say that, like primary foods or soul foods, that's what we're talking about relationships, spirituality, your career, your activity level, those kinds of things that really play into your actual relationship with real food.
Yeah, and I think something that is so cool that just sparked my mind when you were talking about that, someone once told me, it was actually when I was deciding what I wanted to do for my career. I was in school for nursing, but knew that I wanted to do something that was more personal with other girls. Of course, in nursing I could help people, but I wanted to be able to help people one-on-one, which is what health coaching is. But in deciding that, someone told me to think about the things that I love to talk about and I get really excited about. So even for you, think about the things that you find yourself really engaging in and getting excited to talk about, or the friends who you love being around, who you just have so much fun around and you leave feeling fulfilled. And take a look at what those things are and fill your life with more of those things.
All right, step number 2 in learning to stay calm around food is learning to trust your body and learning to listen to your body. Pretty much every lesson that we take you through is helping you to cultivate this trust with your body. So this is something where it's super applicable to staying calm around food, and we're gonna show you now why you should trust and listen to your body, but just know that this is a muscle that you're gonna be flexing and strengthening over the course of this entire program during Finally Free. So don't expect that you're just gonna snap your fingers and it's gonna happen. This is something that grows over time, and as it gets stronger, it just gets more beautiful and helps you so much it's basically the foundation of intuitive eating. So number one thing in learning to trust your body is understanding that she is not your enemy, like we've mentioned before. So your body is magnificent. I just want you to take a minute, pause this video, take a deep breath and say to yourself, my body is magnificent. And you don't have to be a Victoria's Secret model to have a magnificent body. All you need to do is think about everything that your body does for you every single day, and it's mind-blowing. I mean, your body helps you breathe. It has a ton of hormonal functions that are going on constantly. Your brain is working for you. If you get a cut on your skin, your body heals it. Like, it is so wildly intelligent and incredible, and I really want you to take a minute and just acknowledge that she is working for you. The next thing to understand is that your body does not want to be unhealthy. Again, going back to the cut example, if your body wanted to be unhealthy, or it was your enemy, or it was trying to sabotage you, it would just let you have like a big gaping cut. It wouldn't go to your rescue and heal it. Your body is self-healing. It wants to get to a place where it's balanced, everything's working, it's functioning. That's how it is in its natural state. But sometimes we do things to it that put it into a state of imbalance. So if we're gentle with our bodies and listen to them, we can trust that they are working for us to get us back to that balanced state. That's really huge to always be remembering. And if you ever get to a place where you think like, oh, I hate my body, like it's it's gonna be fatter, it wants to be fatter, it's keeping me here at this place that I don't want to be. Just really remember that that is not true. That's a lie that the diet industry has told us. Our bodies want to be healthy, they want to be happy, they want to be balanced. And when we take care of them the way that they ask to be taken care of, they will do just that. Our body sends us messages when something is wrong. So when we put on excess weight, or when we are very underweight, or when our skin's breaking out, when we're not sleeping well, all of these things are just your body's way of communicating with you, like, hey, something isn't right. Like, I'm not feeling well, or something that you're doing isn't working for me. So instead of hating those signals that your body's sending to you, be thankful that your body's letting you know that something that you're doing isn't working for it. Those things are just messages from our body that are saying, like, hey, can you take a little different care of me? And if you do, like, I'm gonna balance this out. I'm working for you.
Yeah, and we recognize too, some of the hardest times to listen to your body are when you're surrounded by other people, sometimes around certain friends who maybe say things about their own body that make you feel really bad. So lots of social situations, trips, lots of times we feel self-conscious when those things come up. So that's a time to be extra aware of what's going on, and just take that extra effort to remind yourself over and over again that you can trust your body. And all that looks like literally is just telling yourself, I can trust you, I can trust you, telling that to your body. The more that you say that to yourself, and the less that you choose not to trust yourself and let the stress get to you, the easier it will become.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And as we're talking about stress, it's important to know that your body is not necessarily a product of like 2015 or 2020. Our bodies, even though technically maybe you or I haven't been around for that long, our bodies have been around for a very, very long time. And they still function in a way prehistorically. So when our bodies feel stress, they believe that something very dangerous and terrible is about to happen. So when you're sitting in your office and you're like really stressed out about a meeting that you have coming up, your body still thinks that you're stressed because famine's coming, or you're going to be chased by a really dangerous animal and potentially attacked. Like, these are the things that your body thinks when it feels stress. And when that happens, your body automatically starts storing up energy to use to help you survive that situation. Whether it would mean, okay, you've got to have a lot of energy to outrun that animal, or you need to have a lot of energy, which can take the form of fat. You have to have a lot of energy stored up for when the famine comes so that you have things to eat. Energy to burn when you're running really fast. Fat stored up to use as fuel if you are starving during a famine. So when we're really stressed out, our body uses all that energy all of our energy and stores it up to save for that, which means that we don't have energy left around to digest food properly. So we would like to encourage you, as you're trying to stay calm around food, to remember not only the mental benefits of being calm around food, but also the very physical, biological benefits of being calm around food. You won't have a lot of digestive issues like bloating or gas or indigestion, because your body's going to be really, really calm, and it's going to know how to break down that food really slowly. Also, when you're calm around food, you chew your food more thoroughly, which also aids in the digestive process. So if you're feeling really, really anxious, just take a minute, step back, get calm, and then proceed eating. Try not to be super stressed out and eating in the very same moment.
And I think when you're calm, when you're eating becomes so much more fun, because it's like you've taken this stance of, I want to say, power over your food, and your food is just there, and maybe there's other people around you, and you're not so concerned with your plate and what's on your plate and how you're going to eat it and how much you're going to eat and when you're going to stop, and when you're going to divide your plate in two is a sign for you to stop, right? You're now in power, and your food is just there.
Totally.
It's just sitting there, and you get to enjoy it, and you get to pay attention to how you're feeling and when you want to stop. Your food is no longer distracting you with all of this fear.
Yeah, it allows you to feel your fullness too. It keeps you from overeating. Sometimes if you've ever had a stress-induced binge, which I know we can both relate to, you sort of get in this like crazy fuzzy headspace and you don't even know what you're doing. It's almost like you're a trance, like autopilot. You're just shoveling like food in your mouth, and then all of a sudden when finally like your stomach hurts because you've eaten so much, that can kind of snap you out of it. Obviously that's not a calm state. If you were calm, you would have noticed fullness way before your belly like really starts to hurt. So as we get more into noticing our body's like hunger and fullness signals, this is going to be really, really important.
Okay, so step number 3 is bringing yourself back to neutral and recognizing your stressors. So first I want to talk a little bit about self-sabotage. I think a lot of people get confused on what that is. And basically what I've experienced that to be, and Simi's experienced it to be, and we've seen in our clients, is when you have these really high or low feelings that set you off to think a certain way or act a certain way. So that might be really low, might be you've weighed yourself and you see the scale go up and you're feeling really down and now you're feeling like you need to restrict everything. Or really high might be that you lost weight and you're really excited about it and you're feeling really great about yourself, and then you go out to eat lunch with a friend and self-sabotage happens and you start overeating because you have this either really high or low feeling. So having a neutral mindset is basically just learning how to stay right in the middle of that. So not being super low or being very high. And all that takes is recognizing that you're feeling really low or you're feeling really high, and recognizing that that doesn't help you, and pulling yourself back to the middle, saying, oh, I do feel really low. I have some guilt going on, but guilt never helps me feel better, so I'm gonna choose to just be in this neutral place. I don't have to act like I'm super happy and great, but I can just choose to be neutral and recognize like, hey, that didn't feel very good. I just really overate. Or I saw the scale and it said that I gained weight. That didn't feel good, but I'm not gonna let that affect my whole day. Or you see that you've lost weight and maybe that is one of your goals. You feel like your body needs to let go of a little bit of weight. You don't want to get so happy about that now everything becomes about weight loss. You instead just want to notice that and recognize the way your body is responding to listening to itself, but not setting any new precedent of intuitive eating means weight loss. If I don't lose weight, I'm not doing well with intuitive eating.
Something that can really help you achieve the calm that Paige was just talking about is checking in with your physical state when you're at the table. We definitely will encourage you to eat sitting down at a table. We'll talk more about that later on, but if you're someone who eats a lot in front of the television or while you're on your phone or by the computer, we want you to slowly start to pull away from that and just try and sit down at the table, because that'll allow you to focus on your body, focus on the food, be way more present in the eating experience, which can help with the calmness and can also eliminate some of that like trance eating. You know, if you have a big bowl of popcorn, you're sitting in front of the TV and all of a sudden you look down and you're like, oh my God, who came and ate all my popcorn? Like, I thought I was the only person home. You don't even remember it because you're just sort of...
And then you need more.
Totally, to feel satisfied. So definitely sit down at the table and then notice your physical body language. So let's say that this was my meal here, liquid meal of tea, and I am really hyped up, I'm really anxious. I'm probably like hovering over my food, spooning it in my mouth really quickly, like barely chewing. You know, before I've even chewed and swallowed a bite of food, I'm shoveling another one in there. So just take a minute and say like, oh my gosh, I need to pull myself back from this. Sit back in your chair, rest your feet on the ground, roll your shoulders down and back, take a deep breath, and as you exhale, just repeat the word to yourself, calm. This will help to remind you what you're trying to achieve here. So taking deep breaths, repeating the word calm, checking in with your body language, getting really relaxed, sitting back, separating yourself from the food until you feel calm. And honestly, if you need to get up from the table and go to the restroom and just close the door, have a minute by yourself, like if you're in a social situation, and just say like, it's just food, I'm gonna be calm, and repeating that word. And when you feel like your hyperness has diffused a little bit, you can go back to the table, sit down, check in with your body language, say the word once again, and then begin to really enjoy your meal.
And I think even for both Simi and I, the word calm works great. But if the word calm doesn't work for you, try and think of just the first word that comes to your mind. So I've heard people say the word peace to themselves. I've heard people say relax to themselves. Anything really that feels like that gets you to that neutral place, you can use that word.
Totally. Before I was a health coach, I was a corporate attorney, and I really loved law school and ended up going into the practice of law and found out that I actually didn't like being an attorney at all. And so I would go to work every day and be really miserable, and I felt really unhappy, and I had a lot of anxiety around going to work. Like Sunday night blues turned into Friday night blues. I would start freaking out on Friday when I came home from work, just thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to go back to the office in 2 days. And the anxiety didn't come so much from the pressure of the job. It came from this feeling of being trapped in a situation that I was really unhappy in, and feeling like, I was going to be destined to a life of feeling that way forever. So I started taking anxiety medication to help me manage that anxiety, but it really was basically like a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, because even with medicine, even seeing a therapist, I still had serious anxiety and just general unhappiness. When I was at work, when I would come home, I would cry a lot at nighttime, just feeling really, really trapped in a place that I felt unhappy with. And during that time, food truly was one of the few pleasures that I had in life, because I spent so much time feeling really unhappy. At the same time, I felt really out of control. So it seemed like food was something that I could control, and it was also a way for me to experience pleasure, which often meant living in some food rules. At that time, I had stopped calorie counting, but I would still have certain foods are good, certain foods are bad, that dialogue going on in my mind. And so I had a lot of anxiety around that. And then after feeling restricted for a long period of time, I would go into like this trance binge zone where it would mean for 5 minutes I could just eat like jars of peanut butter or gluten-free cookies, and gluten-free cookies like with jars of peanut butter together. Yeah, totally. And I didn't have to think about anything else. It was like the pleasure receptors in my brain were being triggered. I just got to feel really good. I got to zone out. But then of course when that was over, I would feel even worse. I'd still feel shitty about my life. And then I also felt really shitty about the binge. So that for me was a huge indicator that, hey, when food was the only pleasure in my life, that means that there's some other areas in my life that needed improvement. So I ended up going back to school, becoming a health coach, and during that time started working on really enhancing the other areas of my life. So studying something that I was interested in, really connecting with my husband, making my friends a huge priority, and just trying to find pleasure in other areas until I was to a point where I was able to change the thing that I felt really unhappy in. So if you notice yourself having these like pleasure binges almost, where food's the only thing that you're really enjoying, it might be just an indicator to you to look at the other areas of your life and start to slowly grow pleasure in other places. Because since I started to do that, I have not had a food binge. And I truly believe it's because those binges came from a place of just feeling really restricted, but just in all areas of my life and just wanting to feel pleasure, and food felt like the easiest place to find that.
Staying calm has literally been one of the biggest factors in helping me to eat intuitively. So I used to be very self-conscious of thinking that other people saw me as someone who changed her mind all the time. So what would happen is I would experience these high and low feelings, and especially with high feelings, I would think of something and tell someone that I wanted to do it and get really excited about it and feel really driven, and a week later not be very interested in it anymore and change my mind and do something else. So this got me to a place where I felt like, oh my gosh, I never follow through on what I'm gonna say with these great ideas that I have. I tell people, I seem like I want to do it, but then I never follow through. So I thought not following through was my problem until I learned to calm my mindset, and I learned and accepted it is totally natural for people to get really excited about things that they may or may not do. So what I started doing, and there's a quote, by the way, that says the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So this really helped me to connect these two things. But what I started doing was, when I would get really excited about something, I would wait for a few days before I told someone something. And I would see if a few days later I still cared about doing that thing, whatever it was. And so many times I would think, wow, I really don't care about that. I am so glad I didn't tell anyone about it. So this can relate to your body. This can relate to a negative comment about your body, like wanting to say so badly, I feel so fat. I think I'm doing something wrong. I think I'm gaining weight. But then 3 days later you feel fine. And if you never said anything, you're gonna feel so thankful at that point that you didn't say something so mean about yourself out loud. You're gonna feel like, I am so glad I kept that in, because I actually don't feel that way about myself truly. I only felt like that in the moment. So this is true for so many different areas of your life, setting goals, saying negative things about yourself, even thinking that you really need to eat something at night when it's really late. This is usually what would happen. I would think, I'm not hungry, but I don't have anything to do, and I really want to go eat this one food. And I would calm my mindset and say, you just had dinner an hour ago. It was like a good sized dinner. You're probably not hungry right now. Why don't you try waiting till the morning and you can have your waffles and ice cream then, if that's what I was craving. And I would just tell myself that because it made me feel really calm. Like, okay, I can do that. The morning's not too far away. And I would wake up in the morning and think to myself, I am so glad I didn't eat waffles and ice cream last night. That would feel horrible sitting in my stomach right now. Like eating all of that so late. And I would wake up and not care about the food at all. I would realize, much like Simi's story, it was because I didn't have any pleasure in that moment and I was feeling bored. So just bringing my mindset back to a calm place so often just gave me the space to really think through something and not act on it right away. And now today I can say I am so much more confident in so many decisions because I give myself time to think about them before I talk about them.